Come on in. Front seats are the best seat. I promise not to spit on anybody tonight. We should be good. My name's Russ Matthews. I want to welcome you tonight to Lord of the Lens. And I'd like to introduce Jay McFarling.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Just kidding.
Thanks. So last year, the First Family sent a team to Australia in August, and we got to do this event there at a church, and it was such a meaningful experience for us, and we really felt like it would be beneficial for our church, so appreciate you guys coming. We really spared no expense. He flew all the way from Australia.
Exactly.
We got real movie popcorn.
Yeah. I mean, you guys did great. You got the movie posters,
Yeah, exactly,
everything.
yeah. So, we've known each other for so long, but I was wondering if you could just give everybody kind of an update on your family. What's kind of been going on in your life?
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We're so grateful to be here. Fortunately, I have some of my family here with me. My name's Russ Matthews. My wife, Kathy, we've been married for 25 years. She's put up with me all these years. It's amazing. And then our daughter, Caroline's back here, and then also Joshua is back in the back. Our cards are on the table if you want to know a little bit more about our family and kind of some of the different updates. We currently work in Sydney, Australia. We do work with a group called City Bible Forum, and also we have a church plant at Rouse Hill Bible Church. And Real Dialogue is one of the ministries that we have the opportunity or privilege of being able to do down there, and it's kind of come up over the last few years. So I'll probably kind of go through and explain more of that as we kind of move through the night.
Cool. Well, speaking of that, one of the things I found interesting just about your ministry and such is you started writing movie reviews, you started doing the events around movies. And can you maybe tell us, how that even got started?
Sure. One of the things we do at City Bible Forum is we have panel discussions where we invite people in the workplace to be able to come in and kind of engage with the Bible on specific topics. And one month we actually brought in Christian film reviewers, script writers, and producers that were actually having various panel discussions and then a film event in regards to that. And from that, I had the opportunity to start writing reviews for one of the editors of the magazines, and so now I write reviews for Insights Magazine, also Entertainment Fuse, and then also for City Bible Forum and Real Dialogue.
Okay. Well, one of the unique things there is you don't normally hear a missionary talk about writing movie reviews. So, how does this fit into your mission in Australia?
Right. Well, one of the privileges of what we get to do with this, it's just, again, one arm of what we do, but why I'm able to write these reviews is that the reviews specifically have a direction or put through, you'll hear me say it tonight, I put it through a gospel lens. And so we try and write a review on the quality of the film, but also how that impacts us as Christians, and then also our bridge, because it is and that's what we'll be talking about tonight, the bridge into kind of gospel conversations or biblical conversations with people. Because if you want to find people, all you have to do is go to a movie theater, and you'll be able to find loads of people. We have events that we have probably about 200, 300 people come along, and usually they're about 40 to 50% would be people inquiring or kind of interested in finding out more about Jesus. And so it's really been an amazing opportunity to be able to meet people where they are with the gospel, opposed to doing the build it and they will come, is actually we go and find them where they are.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think most of us are probably used to going to the movie theater on a Friday night, so how is tonight going to differ from that experience?
Yeah, great. Yeah, Jay, I'll go. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and thanks for that. It has a perfect setup. It's like these questions.
Oh yeah.
You did a great job there. Thanks, Jay. All right. Well, tonight is not just a movie night. Tonight, we're actually going to engage on a whole different level. Tonight also is a great opportunity for you to be able to participate and be a part of the whole process. So hopefully you'll be able to enjoy the evening. Now, but I'd like to do first, though, is kind of set the stage and help you to understand what this is not going to be, okay? I know it sounds odd to start off with a negative, but I think sometimes people come to these sorts of events and they kind of go, oh, this is what it's on about, or this is what it's on about. I'm going to explain what it's on about, but how about if I explain what it's not going to be, just to kind of put you at ease for a moment, okay? One is that this is not me standing up here trying to convince you to watch a film. Hopefully most of you are here because you see the opportunities to be able to see films and to be able to engage with films and engage with others with films. So tonight is not going to be one of those things where I'm going to try and convince you that you need to watch film, okay? Two is that also this is not going to be an exegetical talk, meaning I'm not going to work through a portion of the Bible and try and cram film into that. I am going to bring up the Bible. As we said before, if you could kind of stay off of your phones and things like that, I'll have all the Bible passages available for you up front. And so we'll be able to kind of look at those together as we kind of look through it. I'll be bringing in the Bible and incorporating it, but it's not going to necessarily me working through a portion of Scripture. And then finally, it is not a defense or an attack on the Christian film industry, okay? So I'm not going to necessarily be defending it or attacking it, but I'm also not going to mention it too much because I'm going to be talking about quality films, and that's going to be the last time I'm going to actually talk about that. Sorry. I had to do that. Here, a caveat for those, just to make sure I balance that. I need to balance it. We did just have a fantastic event where we did a film event with The Case for Christ, which, by the way, is a really good film. And we had somebody come to know Christ through that event. I mean, the Lord was able to use that event, use the panel discussion for it. So don't get me wrong. I'm not anti it. I just like really good films. So now, what we're going to be looking at tonight, though, is I'm going to set things up. The key things, the first part of the night is I will be doing a little bit of talking because I think I need to kind of set the stage for what we're going to be doing tonight. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to talk about the story and how we're all kind of wired for story. And we actually even heard a bit about that on Sunday, and I'm going to be able to hopefully dovetail into some of the things that Todd was sharing on Sunday. 2 is one of the big questions that everybody asks me as a film reviewer is, where's the line? Where do you draw the line as far as what films to see? And so what I'll hopefully be able to do is kind of help you to set what that is and look at what is a line. What is the line as far as what films to see and what films not to see. And then finally, we're going to go through and look at the opportunity. Looking at the opportunity that really film presents for us within our community. Film is a part of our history, it's a part of what we're doing, it's how we tell stories, and it's a great way for us to be able to engage people with where they are with the Bible. And that's going to be just kind of the first segment. Then I'll give you a break for a little bit, kind of let you digest, we'll get some popcorn and all that sort of thing. Then we're going to go through and we're going to watch a whole bunch of movie clips. But we're not going to just watch the clips, we're going to actually engage with the clips at your tables and discuss how we can bridge from some of these films into a discussion from the Bible and not making it gear crunch or cringeworthy or going, oh, did you see that guy stretch his hands out? That must be Jesus. It's not that sort of thing. We're going to really try and make it so that something, as I call it, and you've heard probably before, is lifestyle evangelism. It's really living your faith, not only with your actions and what you do, but with your words, but in everything that you do, including your entertainment. And so that's what we're doing tonight. So kind of help us set the stage. Is that all right for you, Al? You're going to come along for me with this, all right? And make sure, because it's kind of dark, so I need you to kind of nod your head every once in a while. Say, all right, okay, good. Laugh even. Oh, thanks, Keith. Yep, thanks for that. Actually, yeah. And, so just kind of, but also if you have questions throughout the night, Todd's right up here, and he'll answer any one that you have. So we'll be able to do that for you here in just a moment. I'm just joking. I would love to answer any questions, and we'll be able to do that towards the end. Okay. So, the Lord of the Lens. What I thought we were going to do is we're going to actually start off with the story. And we're going to start talking about the story. But a lot of people want to kind of know what my story is, and I'm just going to give that to you real quick. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Newton, Iowa. I grew up just up the road, not too far away. One of the things we did for fun as a family is we would regularly drive into Des Moines, Iowa, to be able to go in and see a film on the weekends. One of our favorite places to go, and this is going to probably really date me, one of our favorite places to go, it was the VMAX, it was the IMAX, it was the big screen, it was the Riviera and River Hills. Anybody can remember those, where those were? Yep, okay, the big screens. And right now, I think the Wells Fargo Arena is there now. It's huge, these huge cinemas. It was where everything opened. And in 1978, I got to go see the opening of Superman. Oh, yes. Oh, and it was so cool because it was packed theater. It was all these going on. What was so cool about it is I was 11 years of age. I'll let you do the maths at that point. 11 years of age, and we had to sit separate from mom and dad. That was so cool because it was so full. And all of a sudden, across the screen comes Superman, Christopher Reeves, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman. Now some of you are going, who are these people? I'm like going, no, you don't understand. This is my childhood. This is great. And then Richard Donner, director. Oh, this is so good. I was so engaged. I was so excited about it. I was so excited that I just gotten for Christmas one of those stocking caps that has a little ball on the top of it. And at the end of the film, all of a sudden I looked down and I pulled the whole ball out. And all it was this little plastic ring left at the very end. And I had all this yarn over me. And I didn't care because it was so awesome to be able to go through and see Superman. Now, but the thing is, you don't understand one of the things my mom would tell you that we never got away with. I had one brother, and the thing we never got away with in the car afterwards was getting away with, oh, I liked it, didn't like it, whatever. No, Mom would say, okay, now guys, tell me why you liked that film. Tell me, what was it about that you liked it? What didn't you like about it? This is we were being grilled for the half an hour all the way back to Newton. Then she would go, okay, now would you recommend it to a friend? Would you recommend that to your grandmother? Would you recommend that to anybody? But what was great about that is it set a precedence for what we would now do. Actually, I do for so many times as far as evangelistic opportunities, to be able to engage people with film. Not letting people just kind of get away with, oh, did you like it or didn't like it? Because that's a subjective statement. But really allowing people to really engage. And that's what we really have the opportunity of doing with Real Dialogue. And that's what we're going to be doing a little bit more with tonight. So let me kind of start here with this story. And it kind of helps you to set up the stage that we're all wired for story. And all I have to do to most of you is say, once upon a time. Once upon a time. I don't know about you, but all of a sudden I'm taken back to kindergarten, sitting on a mat in front of my teacher, Mrs. Van, and going, oh, yeah. Because we're wired for story. We desire to hear a story. We want to hear a story. Mrs. Van, tell me the story. But the reason why, and as one of my friends, Mark Hadley, who's a film reviewer and also I work with on The Big Picture, says, all stories are pulled from the meta-narrative that is God's story. Once Upon a Time really has its roots in the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. You can't top that. There's nothing better. It's amazing because you just kind of go, wow, yeah. And it's just packed full. I don't know how many sermons have been preached on that very passage for months. People study this because it means so much, and there's so much depth that we're able to understand and know because we are wired for story. The Creator makes us creative and desire creative things. It's the Imago Dei you were speaking of, that we are a reflection of what it is that God has made, who God is. God created us as a unique among his creation and created us in his image and likeness. And guess what? We are image bearers of the master storyteller. We love story because God is a master storyteller. Throughout history, the oral, the theatric, the written traditions, all have been there. But now we're dealing in an era of the image. We're dealing in the era of video. I'm amazed how many people don't even watch television anymore. All they do is sit there and watch YouTube all day. They sit there and just watch video after video. They binge watch. I don't have to convince any of you, and they say that 20 out of 20, every American sees 20 to 30 films per year. And I think that's actually a very conservative number. I think they see a lot more than that. Because with streaming and all the different things that we do, that we actually see loads of films, and this is where our opportunity falls. And some people go, oh, that's just horrible. That's just so sad that that's what we do. And I say, well, yeah, you can say that, or you can see it as an opportunity of saying, maybe that is where we need to engage with people. Meet them where they are, and be able to see what we can do. Cinematic fans are not hard to find. And also the beauty of cinema is it cuts across every age bracket, it cuts across every economic class, every gender, everything. Everybody has an opinion about film. Some of them good, some of them not so good. But we'll talk about the subjectivity of that in a little bit. One of the things that Mark Hadley again says, he said, the stories we see in film are just a mere fragment of God's story. See, what we do is that we are not original creatures. We really have to take from something. We do not create as much as the Creator created, but we take from what it is that he says, what he's done. Every film, every story, every book is really pulled from that. Love, mercy, grace, sacrifice. All we're seeing in the film yesterday of War of the Planet of the Apes. I saw it all there yesterday. They even had a crucifixion scene. Now, it was a monkey, but still, it was a crucifixion scene. All of it's there because people cannot think of original things. They just take a different spin on what God has really already had the opportunity of showing us. We are wired for sound. Story. Now, interesting quote from this gentleman here. Does anybody know? Oops, did I already skip him? Oh, his image isn't there. This is one of those things that disappeared on my video. There's a gentleman named George Miller. Anybody ever heard of George Miller? George Miller? Yep, a few hands out there. George Miller was the director of Mad Max Fury Road, also the Academy, which one of the best films of the last year, Australian director, and also an Academy Award winner for Happy Feet. Also did Babe, for those who are Pig fans out there. Did the fan. Here's a quote from George Miller here just recently. He said this: "I believe that cinema is now the most powerful secular religion, and people gather in cinemas to experience things collectively as they once did in church." Now listen to this. People are looking for other places to question their spirituality. I don't think we fully understand yet the need of people to gather together to listen to a story and the power of that act. Now, it's fascinating when you kind of study out what George Miller has to say. He's a brilliant filmmaker, but also I think he's kind of missed out on his history, is that the whole desire to get together and hear a great story is not a new thing. Now, we have been doing it at the church. Maybe we haven't been doing it as well as we could, or maybe we don't have as great a special effects budget as they do. But he's really tapping into something here by saying, no, people do want to tap into their spirituality. People do want to engage. They are interested. Every film I'm able to pull from these different ideas that God's story really permeates through, but we have to look for it. See, sometimes we just treat it as entertainment, and I don't want to take away the fun. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to take away the fun, because it is supposed to be entertainment, but yet there's something there that we're able to pull from, and that's what we're hopefully going to be looking at here this evening. And you can say whatever you want to about Hollywood and some of the issues as far as what they've done. Maybe they've taken things too far when it comes to violence, sex, and profanity. But yet, Jesus knew a good story, didn't he? Jesus understood it. He's able to tell a good story. It's really what he really started with was most of the people he's trying to reach for the first time. He talked about a business owner who needed some work done and went out to hire a whole bunch of laborers for the day, or a woman who was standing in her kitchen one day making some homemade loaves of bread, or maybe the good shepherd's compassion, a lost son's plight, the persistence of a feisty widow. The master storyteller taking and actually able to apply great stories, but then be able to bring forward biblical truth. Again, we can learn and understand and know that story is what we're really all about. And just so you don't hammer Hollywood all that much, just so you understand, the first films were all really pulled from the Bible because they understood and knew that. Cecil B. DeMille, we can go all the way back. The first silent film, major blockbuster, was The Ten Commandments. And then it was remade in 1956. They also did The King of Kings. He did The Signs of the Cross. What's the number one R-rated film of all time? Anybody want to have it? What's that? Actually, nope, it's Passion of the Christ. It's still Passion of the Christ. Deadpool tried to take it. He actually kept saying that he's going to top Jesus eventually, but he didn't. Nothing like getting a little arrogance in the way there, right? Hey. But the thing is that they're all pulled down from God's story. And I think one of the things we have the opportunity to be able to see and understand tonight is hopefully be able to set the stage for that, be able to understand and know it's really God's story that we're going to really be looking at and focusing on, even though we'll see a whole bunch of different stories on the screen this evening. Now, all right, so now we're moving on to the next part, the line. Everybody wants to know about the line. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read from a portion of the Bible in Romans 14 that kind of helps set the stage for what we're going to be talking about. It's on the screen for you. Again, you don't need to be on your phone. I don't have it printed on the table, so you can look up front. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm just going to read it out loud to you, though. So the first portion it starts in chapter 14, verse 1. As for the one who is weak in faith, welcome him, but not to quarrel over opinions. One person believes he may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. Who are you to pass judgment on the servant of another? It is before his own master that he stands or falls, and he will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make him stand. All right, the next one actually starts in verse 13. Actually, we'll go to, hopefully, there we go. Therefore, let not us pass judgment on one another any longer, but rather decide never to put a stumbling block or hindrance in the way of a brother. I know and am persuaded in the Lord Jesus that nothing is unclean in itself, but is unclean for anyone who thinks it unclean. For if your brother is grieved by what you eat, you are no longer walking in love. By what you eat, do not destroy the one for whom Christ died. Now, there's so much there, and also some of you, if it's maybe this is the first time you maybe even engaged with this passage, I know you're going, okay, you're talking about food, and all of a sudden now we're talking about movies. Okay, explain that to me. Well, there's an application here that we're able to do, and I think that there's 4 key things that we're able to kind of pull from without forcing it too hard as far as what Paul is really trying to give us the opportunity to do. Because tonight there's 2 groups of people here when it comes to film, okay? And I don't know where that line is necessarily in the room, but there's those that maybe already have a discernment as far as what films they prefer to go to see. And they have a set standard by which that they've set. While there's others who go, no, I'll go see anything. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm cool with that. I'll just kind of go see whatever. And so what I wanted to do with this passage, and also what we're going to be looking at real quickly as far as kind of establishing the line, is kind of helping you to be able to do that. And what I can see, what Paul really kind of helps us with when we're looking at this topic is this. That God has set a standard for living, and he's given us certain freedoms. He has given us certain freedoms. But also, others may have different views on topics like food and also social activities. And we need to be loving in the consideration of others despite having freedom to do certain things. But also, first and foremost, we need to understand and know what God desires for us within all things, and that includes your entertainment choices. And so that's where I really kind of want to start with, and kind of not spoiling your fun. The last thing I want to do, I apologize here for tonight. I have a few glitches, and for some reason, a lot of my images have disappeared, but that's okay. Tonight is not about spoiling your fun. I don't want to spoil your fun, and I don't want to spoil your entertainment opportunities. But I think that we do have a standard by which we are to live when it comes to seeing films. And so I'm actually going to just give you 5 things. I don't know if you want to write these down. It's up to you. It's actually, I use a book by Brett McCracken called The Gray Matters. Worthwhile looking up. You may agree with some of the things he says, may not on other things, but I felt that it was really helpful, especially when you're kind of looking at how do you establish the line. So the first thing is, what is your weakness? What is your weakness? I was sitting with one other film reviewer the other day, and he, Ben McKecken, was asking me, he said, okay, so there are certain films that you don't like to go to see. I said, well, I like to see most films, but there are certain films that I stay away from because they just could cause me to go mentally into places where I shouldn't be. So things that have excessive sex and nudity in them, I choose not to see. Also, just from a personal preference standpoint, I don't like horror films. I just don't like horror films. Now, so he's going, oh, that's really interesting, because he said, I don't really struggle with some of those things. And he said, but I struggle with this. And I don't like these types of films. And I thought that was really fascinating, because we're going through and looking at, we had different things, different issues that we struggle with. And I think that that's one of the things we have to really consider, is what causes you to potentially damage your relationship with God by going to see this film or to watch this television show. Would it cause a damaging also in your relationship with others? I can use the word sin because it's pretty easy to do when it comes to film. Where does that draw down, and what is something you really have to consider? Because that really takes us straight into the second question is then also, what is the weaknesses within your community? Because most of the time you go to the film with someone. And the last thing you want to do, as it says in the Romans passage, is for you to go through and cause another to stumble. You may not struggle with that area. You may not have a problem with that area in your life, but the person you might be going with would. And it's really important that you take the time to care for and love others in that process to make sure that you're not putting them into compromising position. This is where subjectivity kind of comes into play. I like certain films, I don't like certain films. You like certain films, you don't like certain films. There's going to be certain films that cause me to stumble, there's going to be certain films that cause you to stumble. You need to make sure that you're communicating with one another when you're going to see a film together. It's not causing you to stumble, it's not causing you to damage your relationship with God. It's okay to talk to each other. Also, it's worthwhile just go through and looking up if you want to write down 1 Corinthians 8 and 9. It really help you to kind of set another passage you're able to look up. Oh, sorry, it's 1 Corinthians here. Sorry, not 1 Corinthians. Now, the next thing you have to ask yourself is it beneficial? Is it beneficial? 1 Corinthians 6:12 says this, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be dominated by anything. The key thing is you have to look at that one word that repeats itself, as I emphasized it, the but. You know, they may be okay for you to go see that film. There's really nothing stopping you legally within this culture or maybe keeping you from it, even from a scriptural standpoint, to go see a certain film. But is it really helpful? Is it really beneficial for you to go? Is it something really, maybe there's something better you should be doing with your time? Also, you have so many resources accessible to you online, in magazines, different places. There's a really good website called realdialogue.com. Little self-plug. But we'll go through and help you out discerning whether or not this is the right film or not. I'm always fascinated to go to a film that's rated R and then watching parents walk in with 6-year-olds because it's a superhero film. You're going, maybe we need to work on their discernment here a little bit, but also, actually, there's probably a lot of adults that shouldn't be in that room, maybe even myself. You have to go through and consider that and look at that. Is it beneficial? Is it helpful for you? Or is it really something you should be doing elsewise? I know it sounds strange for a film reviewer to be sitting there saying, hey, maybe you should go do something else, but sometimes there are better choices because there is some junk out there on the big screen. Now, finally, this one kind of goes to the film goers, especially the film lovers out there that really love their film. They love their directors. Because I could prattle off some names. I know many of you know Steven Spielberg, but do you know Christopher Nolan? Do you know Martin Scorsese? Do you know Ridley Scott? Do you know Edgar Wright? For those who are shaking their heads, yes, this is for you. Has that director earned the right, with their artistic license, to actually use some things that might be objectionable for the sake of artistic benefit? Schindler's List is one of the greatest films of all time. It's a phenomenal film. It has full frontal nudity. It has excessive violence. It has violence beyond violence, humanity. It has language. There's so many different things that are objectionable within it. But yet none of it would I say for an adult that you should not see that film because of the impact that it has from a historical standpoint. But that's artistic license. You have to kind of go through and discern that. You need to determine it. Just so you know, on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, they have almost every film. They have this little thing that says Parents Guide. It tells you exactly everything that's going on in that film at any given time. You know, violence, nudity, all these different things. Discern for yourself what might be the struggle and be able to use those resources, but also sometimes there's really great films like The Passion of the Christ, which I could only watch once. I could never watch again. Same with, I just recently saw Silence. I don't know if you ever saw Silence, Martin Scorsese film about the Jesuit priest who took the message of the Bible into Japan. Great film, but man, I can only watch it one time. It's just emotionally, just draws. But yet, violent, difficult to watch, scary, but yet artistically worthwhile. But it may not be worthwhile for everybody. So it's something to consider when you're considering the line. Oh, Hacksaw Ridge. Probably one of the best films of last year, probably one of the best portrayals of the gospel message. It's an amazing film, but talk about a little bit of violence. You thought Saving Private Ryan was bad? Go check out Hacksaw Ridge. It is, it's intense, but it's a great film. Okay, so that's some of the things you have to look at. Now, the fifth thing, and this might be even bizarre for most Christians to even consider when you go into film, is have you prayed about it? God might have an opinion. That's sarcasm. God does have an opinion. God does want to be involved. Why not involve him? Would you be embarrassed if Jesus was sitting next to you? If you were sitting there in that film? When a theologian said, everything that is debatable or questionable must be taken first to prayer. Why not with your film choices? I know that sounds strange maybe to some, but it should be the first thing we really do. Should I go see this? I have to do this on a regular basis because I actually get asked by my editors, different editors, to go see a film. And I have to say, sometimes I go, sorry, I can't see that film. There's a film most recently about a child molester that I just could not watch. I'm like, well, sorry, I can't do this film. And so it's just one of those things where you have to kind of go through and make those decisions and really look through those key points of when you're drawing the line. I didn't want to bring down the night. All of a sudden, everything got very serious, and even the aircon went off. So you're like going, what? And so it gets really hot. Everybody's going, whoo. Yeah, Keith, I love it. I love how you work, man. You work great. But I think we do need to, especially as we're going into some of these films tonight, because you're going to see some films. Just so you know, I did go through and try and get as sanitized as at best I could all of the video clips that we have here this evening. If I miss something, please be gracious. It shouldn't be anything as far as offensive or anything like that, hopefully in these screens. But even when you're going through and considering them, some of the films have adult content in them, and so it might be worthwhile considering that. So you need to go through and determine what the line is. So I'm going to stop again for a moment, not to make you uncomfortable. You don't have to share all your weaknesses with the person you just met. I promise I'm not going to do that to you. But kind of continue the conversation for just a little bit. The film that you just said you loved or you really liked or something about that film, you're just talking about this relationship, is there anything that in that film that you would want to warn somebody about? Or maybe kind of give them a little bit of discernment of like, hey, you know what, maybe here's just something to consider. Or here's one of the most helpful things about that film. This is why I love that film. This is one of the most helpful things as far as a portrayal of something. So I want you to just take about 2 minutes or so with each other and just kind of chat again about maybe that film and what it is that you liked or maybe a bit challenging about it. Your mother go. All right. Let's kind of bring it to a close as far as that part of the conversation. I'm glad you guys are so involved. This is fantastic. All right, draw it down. Hey, did anybody learn something about a movie that they had never really heard of before? Anybody? Charles, what did you learn?
About Stella.
Stella. All right.
There was a scene in there that was a little disturbing.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll have to come over and ask you all about that here in a little bit. What that was. But no, but it is. It's always, because also what's great is that we talk about all these websites and things that you can go to, but just so you know, the Lord has actually provided you with a whole bunch of people even here in this room, in this church. You can go and ask and talk to them about it. People have gone to see the film maybe, or maybe they say, oh, maybe you shouldn't go see that film. So it's worthwhile doing that. Using others to be able to be a part of the process, that it's not just you on your own, but actually helping each other within the community to be able to help to determine the line. All right, last thing we're going to do before we get some popcorn is we're going to talk just a little bit about the opportunity. Miroslav Volf is a theologian out of Yale who says this. He says, salt has the greatest impact when it's in the mix. Salt has the greatest impact when it's in the mix, especially when it's in popcorn. Actually, I added that last part. But it's true that we really are supposed to be in the mix. We're supposed to be involved with people in our communities. Film is a great way for us to be able to do that. It's an easy invite. That's one of the things we found with Real Dialogue is that so many people go, man, Russ, this is so great. I can bring somebody along to a regular mainstream film, and then you have a panel discussion. They go through and have a discussion about the Bible and things like that at the end, but people are like, oh, yeah, great. I'll come along and see that. Yeah, I'll come along and see a film. That's why we can say we can get 40 to 50% of the audiences from an inquiring or non-Christian background. It's an easy opportunity, and that's where I think really the Lord has given us that. But I'm also going to use my mother, Dolores Matthews. I'm going to use her example to kind of help us in determining what you need to do with that opportunity. Now, you've left the film. You've just gone to see a great film. You both seem to have enjoyed it. But one of the things you have to do is maybe ask some questions. The key thing is here, and this goes back to my old sales training from years ago, you need to make sure that you're asking open-ended questions. Yes and no answers are not going to help you in a conversation. An open-ended question means that somebody can't say yes or no to it, that they actually have to kind of expand on it a little bit. And so the first question you kind of need to think about in your head is, how good was that film? And why was it good? Or how bad was that film and why was it bad? And be able to articulate it. Not just saying, I don't even listen to reviews where people go, I didn't like it. Well, what does that even mean? Because I don't know you that well, you don't know me that well, so you don't even know what I like and don't like. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what it is that you liked or didn't like about it? Because that's another key point, and I promise not to go into one of my evangelism classes that I give, but evangelism really is more listening than it is talking. Actually using your ears to really listen to what people are saying, not leading them down a path. That's sales technique. No, it's actually allowing them to tell you what it is that they really are finding engaging about it. What did you like about that film? Tell me what you like. I'd love to hear what you liked about it. Why did you like that film? Tell me more. What was it about that character or that person that you really enjoyed? And then really listen. Men, this is hard, I know. Men, are you still listening? Are you still with me? Keith, are you still there? Okay, good. It's kind of dark there. Yeah, I know, exactly. But it is. It's sometimes because you're sitting there also, you want to, okay, you're thinking of the next thing. Oh, what are they going to say? Or, oh, how do I engage with that? Actually, just sit back, relax, pray a little bit, or a lot bit, and then ask the question, and then listen. You'd be amazed at what people are willing to share with you if you just genuinely listen to them. And then also think in your mind, what did this film have to say about God or God's story? Now, I never want to say that the gospel is limiting, okay, because it's not. But sometimes we have a tendency to put the message of the Bible into a box, and we lose sight of the fact of the bigger picture, that if a film may not have a depiction of Jesus on a cross or a resurrection scene. Did anybody see Spider-Man Homecoming? Resurrection scene. Did you see that? Came out of the rubble. Yep, anyway, sorry. I did that. But have you ever thought about, love, mercy, hope? Oh, it's amazing. These are biblical ideas before they were man's ideas. Sacrifice, redemption. The biblical ideas, not just man's ideas. Have you thought about those themes? Thought about the bigger picture? Kind of thought a little bit deeper? I know that hurts, especially for you guys, especially for Keith. But I know it's really hard to go deep sometimes. But it's worthwhile. It actually makes it a lot more fun. Especially the whole idea. I was watching this film. I was watching War of the Planet of the Apes. Mercy was all over that film. All over it. Hope, all over this film. The sin of man, all over this film. Actually, it's all over that series. And then the following is, how can I go into further conversation about God? See, here's the problem, is a lot of times we go into this gear crunch mode. You know what I mean? Maybe people don't drive manual transmissions anymore, but the gear crunch, all of a sudden you're going, oh, what was that? You come out of a film, you're going, oh, you see Despicable Me 3? I think there was a depiction of Jesus on one of the walls. What? What does that have to do with anything? No, it didn't. I didn't see that. Gru was not Jesus. But we can say, hey, you know what? What's interesting about that is that, in Despicable Me 3, there's this beautiful depiction of a love of a family. A father who's willing to sacrifice almost anything for the sake of his family. I don't know. It's interesting because as a Christian, one of the things that really challenges me sometimes is the whole idea of God the Father actually loving us. Why? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that? And I'm not asking you that. That's rhetorical, I know. I'm looking at Todd and going, oh no, what's Todd going to say? Because the thing is that it's not much of a gear crunch. It's not too hard to be able to go there. But you have to be putting film through a gospel lens. Do you do that? Do you put it through that? Do you put it through a biblical mindset? And not just rejecting it, because that's how we're trained as Christians many times is with film, is we're supposed to reject these ideas in film, opposed to going, that actually has a seed of a biblical idea that I can pull and actually maybe get into a gospel conversation. I call it fishing with a light line. Just kind of throwing it out there. If they take it, great. If they don't, then hey, move on to the next topic. It gives us opportunities. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight, the opportunity. So, we're going to take a break here for just a moment. We're going to let you guys get up, take a bio break if you need to. The restrooms are just right around the corner out there if you need to use those. Also, there's popcorn and drinks in the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to look at the opportunity. We're going to look at certain film clips. We're going to go through and see this film clip. It's about 1 minute to 2 minutes long in each one of these different films, all different genres, all different backgrounds. Some of them will be just a softball throw to you as far as how we're able to get to a gospel or a God-centered conversation. Some of them will be difficult, and they're meant to be. But what we're hopefully be able to do is you can do this together. Do this at your table. And those who are willing to actually put up their hand and actually give me their answers. I have some DVDs to give away here tonight too. So, all of a sudden, yeah. And so, why don't we just take a break for a little bit, and we'll get started back here in about 10 minutes or so. How's that? But when we're talking about the truth, I mean, this is one of those lines that so many people know, even if they haven't seen the film. And talking about the fact that we can't handle the truth, but yet, thankfully, what we do have in the gospel, in the Bible, is the truth. We have a definition, we have a place to be able to put that, and we're able to understand and know, as Jesus says there in John 14:6, a passage again that many may know, is that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Our God's word is truth. The thing is, many times people go out when it comes to a whole evangelism standpoint. Even you come to something like this, and you go, I can't do this. I'm not equipped. And I said, well, you need to understand, especially for those of you who attend this church and other good Bible-believing churches, you are well equipped because you have the Bible. You've been taught well. You are probably better equipped than you even realize. But again, we have to put our thoughts, our entertainment, everything we think through a biblical lens. And so that's what I really want to ask you, is are you kind of willing to handle that truth that we all are meant to evangelize? Can you handle that truth? As I say in many of my talks, my other talks, is that evangelism is not a personality trait. Evangelism is a gift for some, but it truly is a responsibility for all those who are followers of Jesus. That we all have a place, we all have an opportunity where it is that God has put us in the workplace, in our schools, in our families, in our neighborhoods, in our churches. And we have opportunity to reach people for Christ. Tonight was just kind of a unique spin on the same message and how we're able to do that. And that's why I want to challenge you. I just want to challenge you and be able to go through and do that. And I'm going to help you by showing you right now, for those of you who are followers of Jesus, to be able to turn to that movie buddy of yours and tell them your story. The truth about you. The truth. Now, if you don't have one of those stories and you're here tonight and you're kind of kicking the tires and trying to figure this whole thing out, fantastic. Don't worry. I'm glad that you're here. It's fantastic that you're here. But if you are, just as we heard, just be genuine. Share your story. How is it, one, that you became a Christian, but two, what does that mean in your life? Because one of the things I really want to make sure, because I've heard many testimonies in the past of people saying, well, I've always been a Christian, or I grew up in a Christian home, or all that sort of thing. Just so you know, that's a lie. They've not always been a Christian. I'm sorry. Can you handle the truth? Because one of the things I was always challenged by one of the pastors that I love is never to gloss over the crossover. There was a point in your life, if you are, say you're a Christian, where you became a follower of Jesus. When was that? And then what does that mean? So what were you before? where it hit you, the crux of the whole thing, and then what does that mean for you now? It may be a recent thing for some, and it may be something that happened many years ago, but it should be, hopefully, to many of you, the most important thing that you've ever shared in your life. So what I want you to do is just take a few minutes as we kind of conclude to turn to your movie buddy and just share your story. Short, sweet, doesn't have to be long and extended. Tell them a little bit about yourself. If you don't have a story, maybe talk to your movie buddy. What does that mean to have a story? And have them tell you their story. So take a few moments, think about it for a minute. It doesn't have to be a movie. Don't have to be a movie line involved. Usually with me, there always is one. My wife says that. But just what is your story? What is the truth about your life? Go ahead, and I'll interrupt you here in just a little bit. All right. Let's kind of bring it to conclusion. You know what's interesting standing up here in the front? It's like watching that La La Land video. Some of these people are so passionate about their stories. It's great. Well, hopefully you've been able to engage and enjoy tonight. Well, let me just kind of bring it to a close for the sake of it. Hopefully you're able to enjoy and understand hearing other people's stories. We're wired for story. I'm so thankful. I'm so excited about the opportunities of having a love for film and also a love for Jesus. So we're able to kind of bring those two things together. Learn a little bit about the line and also learning about the opportunity. And I pray and I challenge you to go out and look at this opportunity, be able to invite somebody to come along. There's so many great films that are coming out over the summer that it may give you an opportunity to be able to take somebody along to a film and maybe engage for them the first time about Jesus. Now, also, a lot of people have asked about the events that we do in the city. And I was just going to show you a really quick clip of one of the events that we do, the Real Dialogue events. What we do is we show a mainstream film, and then we have a panel discussion at the end. When we first started doing this, about 40% of the audience would leave because they didn't really understand what was going on, because they're supposed to head off after a movie. But now we've gotten to the point where we get about 200 to 300 people coming along to these events, and we usually have maybe 10 people leave. The last event, no one left. And like we said, someone fortunately came to know Christ through that event. So that's what we kind of do. For about a half an hour after the video, and then we also allow the people to come up and talk with the panelists. Movie theaters love having us come in because we usually fill the theater without a problem on the nights, and also it's just a great way to be able to engage the public. We do it at a movie theater. We don't necessarily do it in a church because it's a safe atmosphere for anyone to come along. And so that's why we do the Real Dialogue events, but it gives us opportunity to be able to continue to spread the gospel throughout Australia. All right, well, that is the end. I bring you to the conclusion. I want to thank so much to all the families that were able to participate, putting all this together, all the work that there was, the sound team, the church. We want to thank you so much for being a part of this here tonight. And hopefully you'll be able to go through, check out the different websites that we offer to you. And also just want to say, hey, this is the end, but maybe there's a better answer. Actually, I would probably want to conclude it would be a better way because it's God's story. Revelation 22:21 says, "The grace of God be with you all." Amen.